Hey folks, welcome to another day, another unboxing, and what we've got here is the AT&T branded version of the Moto One 5G. Yeah, this is the phone that's coming to Verizon and AT&T in the US. The Verizon version will have millimeter wave. It's a 5G phone. T-Mobile has a slightly detuned version of this phone sold in their in-house brand as the Revel 5G from T-Mobile. And it's not coming unlocked to the US. In the rest of the world, it's known as the Moto G 5G Plus. So it is slightly different again. So it's interesting because Moto is really kind of customizing these phones for different markets right now. All right, so let's get started. Here's the box. As you can see, nothing too crazy and special. There's like some stuff here. It says Moto One 5G. In the back, there's some IMEI information, so I'm not going to show you that. But let's open it. Nothing inside the box. Then we have the phone, and as you can immediately see, we have two front cameras under that display and a punch hole. So let's look at the phone in a minute. Next thing we have here is a little divider. Nothing much here. It's got the usual AT&T, it can wait. I really kind of hate how they customize the packaging so much. It's like I feel like we're 10 years back. So here's an actual divider, and I'm going to have to rotate this because this doesn't actually open all the way. There's the manuals, Moto One, and I believe there's a warranty card here. Nothing too exciting. Yep. Let's get the rest of the stuff out of the box. So what we've got here is a charging brick, and I think it says 20 watt on it. So that's kind of cool. We've got a charging cable, USB type A to type C, as you can see here. All right, that's it for the box. Oh, there's a SIM removal tool here, of course, as well. So here's the manual. As you can see, it says, let's get started, Moto One. And it looks like this. That's what it looks like in the back. And then in the front here, this is what we've got going on. Cool. Now, the phone. That's what we came here for, right? It's the most exciting part. So, let's see if I can pull this out. Yeah, it looks like I can pull this out. Yay. Now there's still an IMEI sticker in the back, so I'm going to try to remove that. All right, here we go. Wow, look at that. Now that's a cool looking phone. Let's turn it on real quick. So, we're going to get the Hello Moto song in a second. It just vibrated. Let me walk you through some of the specs here. So the first thing to know about this phone is it has a 6.7-inch display. There's a Hello Moto. And the 6.7-inch display is an IPS panel. It is a 90 hertz display, right? So 90 hertz, 1080p, not OLED. And as you can see here, there's a bit of a bottom chin and a tiny, slightly smaller, but still there, top chin, and bezels on the sides are okay. So there's two cameras here. There's a 16 megapixel main front camera, f/2.0 with 1 micron pixels, and an 8 megapixel ultra wide f/2.2 with 1.12 micron pixels. So that's cool. Dual cameras in the front. And in the back, we have fingerprints. This is very much a fingerprint magnet. But more importantly, we have 4 cameras in the back. And you can see one has a circle around it. That's because it's a macro with a macro light. So that's kind of what makes it different from the Moto G 5G Plus, which it's sold in other markets like Europe. So the main rear camera is a 48 megapixel camera. There is f/1.8, 0.8 microns, of course. So it does quad pixel binning, combining 4 into 1 for 1.6 micron pixel and an output of 12 megapixels, right? Now there's no OIS on this, but it does have phase detect autofocus. The next camera is an 8 megapixel. One of these is an 8 megapixel f/2.2 118 degree ultra wide with 1.12 micron pixels. And then as I said, we have that 5 megapixel macro with a ring around it. That has autofocus, which is nice for a macro. And then finally, we have a useless 2 megapixel f/2.2 depth sensor. Now what's interesting is you notice the Moto logo back here does not have a fingerprint sensor in it, and I'll show you why in a second. This is not an AMOLED screen, so it doesn't have an in-display fingerprint sensor. It does have a cool LED flash setup here, as you can see. and then the AT&T logo. Damn, I really wish I didn't tramp stamp all these phones with their logos, these carriers. It's ridiculous. But hey, that's what it is. Let's walk you through the edges. There you go. There's your fingerprint sensor on the side. It's a power lock key as well. Then you have the volume rocker here. On the bottom, you have a speaker with a primary microphone, USB Type-C charging, headphone jack. On the left-hand side here, we have the SIM tray that also has micro SD support. And on top here, you really don't have anything other than a secondary microphone. Not too surprising, this setup, really. So let's talk about the specs and the pricing on this. This is kind of an interesting thing because this phone is less than $500. So as I mentioned, it is a 5G phone because it has a Snapdragon 765. Now this is the normal 765, not the G version, which is slightly faster for gaming, right? And it does have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery under that rear cover, which is going to be pretty damn impressive. And again, 90 hertz display is kind of unheard of under $500 in the US, especially. And we're getting, quad cameras, we're getting this 5G, with the Snapdragon 765, we're getting this dual front camera setup. So it's a little unusual to get all of this packed in one phone for less than $500, at least here in the US. So this is what makes this phone kind of exciting, I think. Now, there are some immediate slight downsides. As I said, no OIS on the rear camera. I wish that was the case. You're not going to get wireless charging on this phone. It does have NFC, which, as you know, Moto has a tendency to not put on their phones, which is kind of annoying, at least not on the Moto G series. So this Moto One does have it. But here's one thing that I'm a little concerned about with this phone. 4 gigs of RAM, only 4. Now 6 is kind of really the minimum, I think, for an Android phone, so I'm a little worried about that. 128 gigs of storage. You have micro SD as well if you want to put in more. So that's it, folks. This is the Moto One 5G on AT&T. There's going to be a Verizon version with millimeter wave. It's going to be slightly more expensive. In Europe, you can get a similar phone called the Moto G 5G Plus without the LED ring around the macro lens. And then T-Mobile sells this phone with a single front camera and no 90 hertz for $400 retail right now. So that's basically your options, and there's going to be no unlocked version of this phone. So that's it basically, folks. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the little notification bell below. Also, comment below if you want to tell me what you think of this phone. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Would you buy this phone? Is this something you're excited about even though it's not unlocked? I'd like to know. And then, of course, remember that this channel is a complement to my podcast. MobileTechPodcast.com is where it's at. You should subscribe, like, and of course, find me on all the platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Spotify. So that's it, folks. Stay tuned. I'll have more videos soon. And until then, cheers, everybody.